This week, the sky brings our last Cosmic RX radio podcast of 2024, and with it, hopefully, some lessons, some blessings, and just a little bit of stardust to leave you on as we close out the calendar year.
Welcome to Cosmic RX Radio, a podcast that gives you real-life tools of spiritual empowerment and pure hype. I'm your host and intuitive guide, MADI Murphy. I'll be serving up your weekly energy readings, cosmic boss interviews, and astro inspiration. Are you ready to love yourself more, manifest your dream life, and own your magic? Let's jump in.
How are we doing? I'm your host, MADI Murphy, your girl, your high vibe hype woman, your cosmic consultant, your messy but mystical guide on this wild ride of being a human. And if you're wondering why I'm talking in almost an ASMR hushed tone, it's because we have a little visitor, a little Sagittarius crashed the party early. Yes, my baby Sag came in like a freaking lightning bolt on December 7th. And he, yes, 2 times over boy mom, now it's official, is napping. And so I thought I would use this opportunity to jump on. And of course, I wanted to get this podcast recorded before he was born, but he clearly wanted to say hi to the baddies to close out the year. So hello from him. If astrology isn't real, then why is his chart so everyone, like, you have to do your children's chart when they're born, not to like push anything on them, but the story it tells immediately of why they came Earthside. I'm going to get into it in a little bit because it kind of ties into a message I want to leave you on for the year. But it's so insane. It's so beautiful. Human life is so precious and sacred. And I love that I get to do this work for a living of just interpreting what the cosmos imprinted on us as we descended through the heavenly realms. And just shout out again to anyone who's given birth. I mean, birth to anything, but definitely birth to a human. It is no joke. It is not like, it is empowering and it is primal, but my birth experiences, I feel like I am just like cursing, throwing up, roaring, growling. Like, I'm just like, it's so like raw. Every time I'm like, I can't believe women, womb bearers have done this since the beginning of time and are doing it all day, every day. It just blows my mind. So I'm going to get a little bit into the birth story as part of today's very special podcast episode. It's going to be a little bit of a departure from the normal, but I also just wanted to open up by saying thank you to everyone. Thank you. Like, this whole episode is just one big love note, one big thank you letter for, all the ways that you all have supported Audrey and I and the Cosmic RX team. Looking back on this year, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I had a baby, and then Audrey had a baby, and then I had another baby. And in that process, I signed a book deal. I'm so excited for my book Into the Cosmic Zone to come out summer 2025. We, revamped some things in our cosmic community in the Luniverse. And as always, like, we're just trying to maintain that balance of offering you the best possible experience, tools, support, community as we can, while also now navigating and juggling motherhood and taking care of ourselves and not biting off more than we can chew. And I just really appreciate having a community, having, a business, quote unquote. I'm not saying it's not a real business, but it doesn't, it feels like an offering, but it is also a business where people, our community, our clients, our customers really understand, like, that we are here to serve them, but also, like, we're not some big corporate monolith. And we also are just 2 humans running it, and we're going to have big life things happen. And I just appreciate you all being here for this ride. And I'm really excited for 2025, just looking ahead. I'm really excited for this book to come out. I'm in a progressed Leo moon, so it feels like a chance to kind of step out behind the podcasting mic, behind the social media of it all and come and meet you all in person. And I'm going to be doing like a podcast tour, but also an in-person book tour. And I would just love to hear like where you're at and if there's any spot you think I need to go or you have a location or something in mind, definitely let me know. And I might be traveling with my Scorpio and my Sag babies. And we have some other things that Audrey and I, we're always in the kitchen, like cooking up things and wanting to find new ways to bring you the wisdom of the cosmos and the power of community to you in just even more direct and accessible and digestible ways. But again, just thank you. And also thank you. Spotify Wrapped got like so shit on this year. I think it's because like AI took it over. But I did want to thank you all for the people who did their Spotify Wrapped and tagged us. It's always amazing to me where it's like, you spent 7,000 minutes with Maddie Murphy. And I'm like, oh my God, are you like sick of me? Or to see our podcast in the top 5 with some of these like real podcast heavy hitters. It's just always so humbling. And my little like inner Maddie Murphy's like, what? Is this real? So thank you for that. And before I get into what I want to talk about in today's episode, I just also wanted to say, if you came to the 2025 webinar, thank you. That was so much fun. That whole week, like literally Mercury went retrograde and then it was like the holiday season. I traveled like up and down the Eastern Seaboard. We moved because we outgrew our apartment and we couldn't move before December 1. and So we moved everything that could go wrong, like under the sun. Nothing bad, nothing capital B bad happened, but like every frustrating, irritating, annoying thing went wrong. And then, of course, while we're doing this, I'm trying to polish like the research that I've been doing for months on this webinar. And of course, shout out to like Wi-Fi companies. We use Spectrum here in New York City. And like whenever I move, just something goes wonky. Like they sent me a new router and an old modem. So the 2025 webinar, my Wi-Fi kept cutting out. And I was just like, deep breaths. But I just appreciate everyone who came, the comments, the clicking, the clacking, the yapping. It's so much fun. I appreciate your patience with me and like being so beyond pregnant, post-move, Wi-Fi doing its weird thing. But we still had a blast. And Audrey made a really beautiful workbook to go with the year. So if you missed it and you want to catch the replay, you can get it as a bundle with the workbook and the slides, or I believe just the workbook is also available to purchase if you're like, I don't really have like 2 hours to listen to you. But if you do have 2 hours to listen, I think you'll get a lot out of it. It's always really clarifying to me. It's really grounding to me. 2025 is wild. Like it's such a paradigm shift. We're really going to remember like the decade pre-2025 and post. And there's so many big changes and it's setting us up a lot for 2026, which I think these 2 years are going to be some of the biggest years in our modern history, if I'm tuning into what's right. And then in the webinar, we do the macro, like what happened in other historical cycles of that planetary energy, which the history nerd in me is always fascinated with. And it does help us understand a little bit of like the theme or the vibe of what's going to be coming as these planets return to those signs. But we also do a personal breakdown because the macro is so important, but it's also important to understand what does it mean for your personal rising, your personal sun sign. Like, how do we make sense of all of this, right? Like, what does it mean that Uranus is in Gemini and that Pluto is in Aquarius and Saturn's moving into Aries? Like, what does that mean for you? And then, of course, we go through all the retrogrades, all the eclipses for the year, so you can mark them in your cosmic calendar. And then we end with just like a general theme and then a love theme and a career theme for each of the signs. So it's, I think, a great way of just getting like really clear, and it really helps you understand like, where is this ship pointing next year, right? Like what's being asked of me? What's my cosmic assignment to really live in my highest alignment? So check that out if you haven't. And again, thank you to everyone who joined. So today, the astrology for this upcoming week, we're coming off of this full moon in Gemini and Mercury is going direct, Mercury stationed direct on that same day. And this upcoming week, it's chill, right? Like the sun is entering Capricorn, but we have like really besides that, just, it's almost like just integration after that crazy retrograde, after Pluto moving into Aquarius. Like we've just had a lot, Mars going retrograde, a lot of like big astrology. And so I just wanted to recap and review, use this time just like I tuned in and I asked our galactic guides, our planets, like, what are the takeaways from this year? What are the reminders? What are things that like we learned, earned, and maybe are integrating now? So I'm going to do that after we do the normal little segments. So it's going to be a little different today. But before I get into that, I just want to quickly go over if astrology isn't real and the moon report as always. So if astrology isn't real, I think it was Saint Hoax had this great meme of this woman like on a spinning ride. And it was just like December 2024, like one thing after another happening. We're just like head is spinning. And I mean, like a lot of us, our head is just still spinning from the election. Hello. But the amount of like world events where people are like, have had it up to here with the dictators, the fascists, the billionaires. I talked about it a little bit last week. It's been wild. And then, of course, like I'm going to dedicate today's astrology isn't real to everybody's favorite V for Vendetta daddy, baby girl, Luigi Mangione, the alleged shooter of the United Healthcare CEO and internet folk hero, modern day Robin Hood. I found his chart online and, sometimes like the ethics of doing someone's chart, it's interesting, right? If you don't know them. But once someone becomes a public figure, it is really an interesting tool to look at how their chart is mirroring or giving us another level of meaning making to the current astrology. So I dedicate this in like pure, honestly, admiration for this man. I don't know him. I don't know every part of him, obviously, but what he's managed to do in the past week and a half or so, to me, is the first like real plucking of the strings of the notes of Pluto and Aquarius I've been waiting for. We've seen a lot of like shadow Pluto and Aquarius things with like the technocrats, the billionaires, they're like trying to seek control, the AI. And I kept waiting for like, where's some of this like revolutionary vibe? And I think I was waiting for it and watching the very like left versus right of it all, or, the different like identities of it all, right? Like looking to have more people who have marginalized identities step up into positions of power, which is still going to happen. But as we all know, Pluto and Aquarius and the revolution, it's not about left versus right. It's kind of like the only container we've been given for this, or like lens or context, but it really is about up versus down, right? We've been saying this forever here, but like it's just such a good reminder of like, we all have way more in common with each other, no matter where we live in the country, in the world, no matter who we vote for, the identity, politics, the division, the distraction. It's like the smartest thing ever to keep us all like really at each other's throats, really not uniting. But really, it's like the everyday person versus these really greedy corporations, billionaires, and the politicians who are in their pocket. And like that is like who we all should be banding against, right? And turning all of our like endless chatter and groupthink and demanding for change, that's where we should be aiming it. So without further ado, our boy, our like beloved, perhaps new sex symbol, question mark, of the internet. I wanted to look at his chart and see like what it tells us about this current moment and just sort of honor like this activation that's occurred now in the collective that I've been sort of waiting for, of like, when are we going to realize, like, why are we defending billionaires as some of us? Like, question mark. Okay, now again, we don't have a birth time, but because Luigi, Mr. Mangione, is like 26, I'm waiting for someone who he's dated to like come forward with his like actual birth chart, because anyone under like 35 nowadays or 40, I don't even know, we're getting the birth times of people we're dating, right? Like, so we have some information stored in our phone. So first up, Taurus Sun conjunct Mars, which we know just by the date. So this, first of all, if astrology isn't real, is like kind of a joke, but hilarious. Like, well then, if astrology isn't real, why did he get caught in a McDonald's? He's a Taurus Sun. I saw someone on TikTok say that. It was using our podcast catchphrase, and I'm like, is this making it mainstream-ish? I love that. But, first of all, we're going to talk about this man has a Virgo moon. Nothing is happening accidentally. Taurus and Virgo together are just such meticulous, grounded, practical, detail-oriented energies that I'm like, yes, he did have to stop by some Mickey D's because he's hungry. Hello, Taurus. But that feels on purpose. At the time of this recording of the podcast, nothing's been confirmed, but I've seen some murmurings on the internet that like he literally, who sits there after all this like evading NYPD, the FBI for days on end, and then is like caught with like wearing that same outfit I think he's wearing, a manifesto, the gun on him, and just sitting there. Like, and someone told me that he even went to the elderly McDonald's worker and was like, hey, call this in. I'm this person, collect the reward, which would just be so Robin Hood and even like sexier of him, if that's true. But we'll see if that's true. We'll see. But back to the Taurus, Mars and Sun in Taurus is really interesting because Taurus, I think I didn't talk about this in my book, but a lot of people associate Aquarius with the sign of the activist, which it is. But also a lot of the most famous activists, rebels, agents of change have actually been Tauruses because there's something about, again, their dedication to values, their ability to just dig their heels in the ground and really stick to something like unmovable level of ethics or ideologies, for better or worse, how they see the world, how they think the world should be. So I thought that was very interesting. And then both his Sun and Mars then are square Uranus in his chart and working with Uranus currently, which is just a huge signature for revolutionary energy, obviously like upheavals, turning things on their head and flipping the damn table and the system. So it's kind of cool to see how that plays out so literally. And his Uranus is in Aquarius. So really playing into the Pluto of Aquarius at all, but also just like how he has become sort of this real representative for the collective, for people on a much larger scale. So back to his Virgo moon. His Virgo moon is also working with his North Node. He's about to enter his nodal opposition starting in January. So I think he's going to definitely, we have not seen or heard the end of this guy. He's a South Node in Pisces that the eclipse just passed over. He has, where is his, okay, yeah, so he also has a Jupiter on his South Node. And that, sometimes Jupiter in Pisces on a South Node in Pisces feels like past life might have been some sort of like religious martyr or spiritual like guru or hero or someone who really like took up a lot of space like spiritually in terms of leadership. And now with Virgo, it's like that same energy, but bringing it down to earth. Virgo rules like healthcare. Virgo rules the body. Virgo is very like, again, helping the people, the helper energy. And so I thought that was really interesting. And with him entering his nodal return, these eclipses then are going to be going over really significant parts of his chart. In the 2025 webinar, we talked about like these Virgo Pisces eclipses are going to be going over his moon. His North Node is Jupiter. And then we have one more Aries eclipse. And he has an Aries stellium. Plus, we're going to have Neptune and Saturn working together in Aries. He has his Saturn in Aries. So he's also going to be entering his Saturn return this year. And there's just a lot of interesting things that happen leading up to your Saturn return. You go through your fourth house perfection year, you go through your progressed lunar return. These are things that make you really question everything you've been told, that make you kind of look at your life. The big turning point. I'm sure a lot of you have felt it. A lot of us have felt it. And so I was like, oh yeah, this boy he's gone through some things, and I've heard different stories, different angles of his backstory, his, origin story of how he got here. But no matter what, this next year is going to be really important for him. And he's been very smart and very methodical and meticulous. And this is, I think, in our 24-hour news cycle, it's so hard to keep someone's attention. I think he's going to be able to keep the attention of the collective for a while. And the two last things in his chart that I thought was very interesting, again, shout out again, just want to stress that Virgo moon, I think we all felt it with like the words engraved on the bullet casings, just like every little detail of this. I was like, oh my God, this is some Virgo stuff. But then some like great Taurus energy and Aries energy to actually pull it all off. Because sometimes Virgo, if it was all Virgo energy, he would like still be like in a basement planning and like perfecting, self-burn. But then, yeah, so this Saturn, he has his Mercury in Aries and his Venus in Aries. And very interesting, if we remember back to that eclipse that we had. Remember on April 8th, we talked about the Great American Eclipse, and we said this was going to be really big for the USA. Something about this eclipse point was going to trigger something really, an Aries anger spark, a warrior energy, a trailblazer energy, something, a hero energy that was going to really affect the USA, right? It was conjunct Chiron, and it's part of the USA's Chiron return. So there's a lot happening there. That was literally directly on his Mercury at 19 degrees of Aries, which is also the ruler of his moon. So, I'm curious, maybe around that time, maybe when he started planning this, I don't know, but that's just very significant. And so his chart is just telling a very, very, very interesting story. The last thing I'll leave it on is we don't know his rising sign. We don't have his birth time. I feel like it is going to come out in the coming weeks. Again, just because of him being sort of Gen Z, someone's got to have his birth info. But I'm going to put my money down. I'm going to put some bets on the table. He's a Leo rising, like maybe a late Leo, almost Virgo rising. A few things. Obviously, it would be like Mars retrograding in Leo on his rising sign of identity would make a lot of sense. But more so than that, it's just like everything about this is just so like Hollywood. And the fact that he's very handsome. He's like curly hair, but the flair for like the theatrics, but while not letting that like sweep him up in anything, has been so interesting to watch. So that's just my personal Maddie Murphy putting it down. Like, is Luigi a Leo rising? And anyone on the internet who has more information, please let us know. But let me know your guesses. Slide in my DMs. I love hearing about your takes on all of this. And I'll be back in the new year with more If Astrology Isn't Real. So now we shift into our moon report. Who wants to talk about the moon? We do. So here's how we align with the moon to better understand our inner world. The day this podcast comes out, Monday, Moon Day, we get our true Moon Day where we have a Cancer moon all day, coming off of that full moon the day before in Gemini early on Sunday morning. What do we do with a moon day that's ruled by Cancer and coming off a full moon? We rest, we integrate this energy. We have it until Tuesday at 6:38 p.m. Eastern. And we are just going to really want to honor ourselves, nourish ourselves, listen to ourselves. We are in the thick of it with the holiday season. We're coming off of Mercury retrograde. We're still in Mars retrograde. Is there something you can do to really turn your energy inward to you, your home? Maybe go grocery shopping, do some meal prepping, tidy your space, like light a candle, put on a nostalgic movie. What does that look like, right? For you, how do you make that a priority? And the thing we're going to look out for during this time is just, Cancer moon days, we can feel really extra tender. So we're just going to like try and move with that flow of emotions instead of like getting tossed around by it or tossed around other people in our like emotional tidal waves. And then Tuesday at 6:38 p.m., the moon moves into Leo. I hope everyone hears a little new baby Sag, little sleep noises in the background. Tuesday, 6:38 p.m., the moon moves into Leo, stays there all day Wednesday, all day Thursday, the wee hours of Friday morning. Ooh, this is giving holiday party vibes. This is like Cap Sun Leo moon. I hope people are getting dressed up. I hope people are putting on some sequins. I hope there's some razzle dazzle, like, let's, get a blowout. Let's put on some like red lipstick, like the red one, and really own this, like the fun part of the season, the social part of the season. And yeah, like also I kind of love it, like the Cap Leo balance. We're also closing out. This is the time of year where everyone's like, we'll just circle up on this in the new year. We don't need to do this now. And that's part of it, right? Like business and pleasure all at once. Just things we'll look out for is like sometimes Leo moon, we can get really into a little too like excessive mode. So just, as always, being mindful of what you're consuming, drink lots of water, know your limits, all of that. It's working with Mars retrograde with Leo. So we might be feeling a little bit more dramatic, which is again why it's good to limit, especially like our substances we're taking in, because, we don't want to have like a big dramatic blowout, I don't know, at our boss or with one of our coworkers or even our partners. So just like, if you're noticing some sort of emotions coming up, how do we sort of address that, or any kind of need for attention or giving that situation space for awareness before it becomes like a full-on blowout thing. So then we go into Virgo moon all day Friday, all day Saturday, into Sunday around 2 p.m. So Virgo moon energy for the weekend, maybe we're just taking care of some things off the to-do list, shopping, wrapping, cooking, maybe writing some Christmas cards, holiday cards, end of the year cards. Maybe we're doing some service work. If, I know shelters and other places get overwhelmed with everyone trying to volunteer at the end of the year, but there's so many places that do need help in your local neighborhood, and maybe just like committing to doing something that's of service over the weekend, even if it's just like an hour of your time. That feels like yummy for this Virgo moon cap sun energy. Also, good like decluttering. You might want to wait. Might be too busy right now. Maybe you're going to wait till like January. But sometimes like when we're in these like really busy moments, my Virgo loves to like, let's just do a little organizing, a little decluttering. It just really helps like my mental health. And then we're just going to look out for the cap sun Virgo moon. We're going to look out for being too hard on ourselves, right? Like we don't want to be in that place of like beating ourselves up over every little thing. Like what needs to get done will get done, and everything else, we're just going to trust the process. And then we end the weekend on that Libra moon energy. So I just love it. Like, let's snuggle up. It's cupping season. If you have someone to love, grab them, cuddle them by the fire, go out on a cute date. If you don't have, a special someone in your life, take yourself on a fabulous date somewhere. Go out, see like an independent film, walk around, check out like the holiday window displays, go to an art gallery. Again, make yourself a lovely meal, like just something really romantic about a Sunday night Libra moon energy. And then we're just gonna look out for a Cap Sun Libra moon. Those are two signs that love control. So if something pops up where you're being asked to release control around something, see if you can just unclench your body and focus on what you can control, which is usually your experience, your emotions around the experience, and really nothing else. And that's the moon report. So as we go into how I wanted to end this episode, the last episode of 2024, I wanted to think about like some takeaways, some 10 reminders, lessons from this transformative year, and also like how it might set us up for looking forward to being in a good place, the solid foundation with really strong awareness as we go into this massive, pivotal, like earthquake energy, right, of 2025. So the first lesson, and these are like, these are from the planets. I tuned in with them, made it a collab, cosmic collab coming through. So the first lesson is like, remember who the F you are. We had so much activation around Aries energy. We've been in so much Aries energy between Jupiter being in Aries, these eclipses, and we're being asked like to understand really who we are, to remember that, and to know that like you showing up as that authentic self is one of the most important key things in this revolution, right? Like we talk about that a lot. And I want you to really think about like, what did you learn about yourself this year? What are your non-negotiables? And like, what makes you you? Like, and writing those things out, your values, what are your things you're really good at, your super powers, your gifts you bring to the world? What are the ways you want to be perceived? What is the mask that you're peeling back, right? Like remembering who the F you are. So that was number one, courtesy of the North Node Aries, but especially all these Aries solar eclipses. As you remember, we've only had solar eclipses in Aries, which is all new beginnings. We haven't done any like closure or looking back. So the universe is telling us like full steam ahead with this authentic version of ourselves. The second lesson is very similar to that. I want to say it's like, if it costs you your peace, it's too damn expensive. And I mean this especially as it relates to relationships. We're talking about relationships. We want 2024. For a lot of you, it was the year that you really found the cure for the disease to please. We broke up with a lot of unhealthy, codependent behaviors, things in relationships where you're sacrificing your peace, yourself, your potential we were done with that. I saw a lot of healthy breakups, breakthroughs. And if it costs you your peace, it's too damn expensive, right? Like Libra South Node is a lot about peace and diplomacy and harmony, but it's also important, like, how are we getting there? Being the peace maker is much different than being the peacekeeper we always talk about here, right? Like it's different to just swallow something to keep everyone else happy. It's way different, right? Than actually honoring sometimes the hard work it takes to actually find peace. And also a lot of you learned that like sometimes it just means walking away. There's actually no talking through this. There's no negotiating, compromising. So, shout out to the Libra South Node for really bringing that on home this year. This year, I think we learned to embrace the unexpected and really go with that. And these are obviously like great lessons for any year. But we've had Uranus and Taurus. We had a lot of Uranian energy towards the end of the summer. And I feel like a lot of us could like feel for a while, like something's coming. We don't know what it is, but we're just trusting it, whether that's in our personal life, whether that's on the larger like world stage. And I think that like the people that I saw really thrive with this energy the most were the ones that embraced it with curiosity, with flexibility, with adaptability. And I think like life will always continue to bring us surprises and plot twists that are challenging, that are amazing, that are brutal, that are beautiful all at once. But it's like the only certainty is uncertainty, right? Like the only guarantee in life is change. And I think a lot of you, us, myself included, it's like we thrive. We have to thrive. Life thrives in the unknown. And when we look at it with curiosity and asking like, what's the best that can come out of this? It helps us really like loosen that grip and trust the flow of the universe, which we're going to need to keep doing because 2025 is going to bring even more of that. And I just invite you to like, if any of that makes you tense up, can we relax our shoulders? Can we lean into the mystery and the pleasure of the unknown and like ask the universe to pleasantly surprise and delight us even? Okay, the next lesson takeaway is there will be no more settling for crumbs. Like no crumbs, buffet only, banquet tables only for my baddies. And this is courtesy of, we had the first few months of the year, we were finishing out Jupiter in Taurus, which again, just like Aries, we've been in a very Taurian school. We've had Uranus in Taurus for a long time. And then we had those eclipses in Taurus and Scorpio. And then Jupiter came in from May 2023 to May 2024. And I feel like it was really asking all of us to tend to our garden, really water what we want to grow, trim, prune, weed away the rest, and like be willing to ask for more and to kind of either do the hard work or the patient sitting back, which is almost sometimes harder than hard work, is the patience of like waiting for the right offer or like maintaining your pose, keeping your crown on, sitting on your throne, not like getting off of it. And I saw it with a lot of people around me at work and the relationships of just like holding the pose where it's like Jupiter and Taurus was like, what do you value? Are these new options, opportunities, invitations in alignment with that? And like, what is your self-value? And how does that influence your decisions? And so for a lot of us, that Jupiter and Taurus energy reminded us like, we're not here for crumbs. No. That might have worked before or in the past, but like part of what we're all shifting into is just asking for more and being willing to receive way more, not out of greediness, but out of grounded, like embodied knowing of our worth. So that is number 4. Number 5, one of our takeaways of 2024 from the astrological advisors is our wounds are our magic wands. And for a lot of us, part of owning the part of us that feels imperfect or unworthy or a little banged up is so important to understanding our purpose and who we are, right? And I always say, like, this is part of, Chiron working with the North Node in Aries. And so I'm thinking about all the babies born this year at the North Node. and Chiron together in Aries. I have my North Node and Chiron together. And it really amplifies that Chiron tagline that I always like to say, like the medicine that we take becomes the medicine we make. And so we're all with this collective Chironic moment is like learning something about like, a wound that we might have had around just being ourselves, our most authentic selves, our identity in some way, being seen, healing those visibility wounds, which I'm something that I'm excited to dive into in my personal practice a lot more in 2025. We're being asked to like go face that stuff head on and then almost teach, share, storytell, hold space for other people to do that. And like the owning of the wound, not the, overcompensating or the denial of it or the trying to like fix it to death, but like just the owning of the wound becomes your magic wand for unlocking so much about who you're here to be and the journey that it takes you on, right? Of understanding that wound. So that is number 6, courtesy of Chiron and North Node and Aries working together. Number 6 is just brought to you by all of our retrogrades from this year, especially the Mercury retrogrades, but ending the year in this Mars retrograde, is that like rest is not only revolutionary, but rest is a requisite. Rest is built in to the ebb and flow of the planets. Like literally, like retrogrades exist in our solar system, in the cosmos, and we think that we are above rest. I mean, even right now, I'm, postpartum, and I'm like been looking forward to this for so long. It's been such a crazy few months. I'm like, oh, so excited, just like be cozy at home. And like the monkey mind just goes into like the things you haven't done, the things you need to do. Like you've rested for 2 days. Okay, that's enough, right? And I'm well aware. I'm like, no, like this is crazy. Like I just birthed the human. I physically need to rest to like feed and take care of this human, but to let my body heal. But it's so like our society and going on social media and seeing everything around us, it's like so ingrained in us of how much our worthiness is attached to working and doing and producing. And I think about it, I'm like, there's just these retrogrades like every few months and then every like, few years for the Mars and Venus of it all. And it's like, we have to. So rest is not just revolutionary, but it's requisite. It is required. It is required. So I want us all to think about that, myself included, and listen to our galactic guides, listen to the patterns of the universe and how important it is to really be in that. Okay, next up, lucky number 7, your voice matters. This is courtesy of Jupiter moving into Gemini, coming to lift the fog or unclog our collective throat chakras in some way. This is also happening with Uranus and Taurus, which Taurus rules the throat. Gemini connects us to our voice, our message. And this year, Jupiter in Gemini goes until June 2025. And I just really encourage you, if there's something on your heart that you want to share with the world, whether that's like in a formal way through a book, a blog, a podcast, or if that's like just something that you want to get off of your chest or put voice to, this is the time where it's going to feel really rewarded and supported. And that even if something you feel like it's been said before, or you've said it and you don't want to say it again, or that the thing that you want to write or publish about, it's like it was all been said before. That's the kind of the beauty of it. But it's also never been said by your voice. It's never been said filtered through your unique heart with your unique experience and your wit and your wisdom. And that's why we have to keep saying things, because I'm going to say something that's not going to get through to someone. You're going to say something that's going to get through to someone else. It's like we each just have a resonance. And it's very healing. It's very cathartic. So number 8, we're going to give this one also. Jupiter in Gemini, very on brand, has a lot to say. So not only does your voice matter, but Jupiter in Gemini wants to remind you that like you are the author of your story and you can rewrite it, you can edit it at any point that you want. And Jupiter in Gemini is coming to expand our vocabulary on like the spiritual soul level. It's coming to help us share our message, our truth. It's coming to, help us connect with other people, to collaborate with like-minded souls if we're open to that and putting ourselves out there, again, back to like leading with our authentic self. But that also like I talk to a lot of people who remind me of how we can get really caught up by our past, by what's defined us, whether those are identities we carried, whether those things that happened to us, whether those are things that quote unquote went wrong, mistakes, missteps, failures, quote unquote. We talked about, timing of things, doing things too late, too early. But like that's all really made up. It's really made up. So I want us to remind ourselves that like we have the pen, we are the author of our story. We can like rewrite it at any moment. You can choose a new narrative, or you can choose to also like weave together what happened in your past to really make sense for your launching pad for where you're at today. Okay. So Jupiter and Gemini, thanks for that reminder. Number 9 is brought to us by Pluto officially going into Aquarius, back and forth through Capr and Aquarius all year, landed in Aquarius, where it's here to stay. Pluto in Aquarius wants to remind us that our collective healing is personal healing, and our personal healing is collective healing. So, healing yourself is an act of service to the collective that sends ripple effects out that are so profound we don't even know. Just for our ability to show up over the next few months and years, just not in this place of projections and shadows and disempowerment and self-victimization and unhealthy programming is one of the best gifts we can offer. But then also knowing that every time we offer something to the collective, helping someone else out, investing in mutual aid, learning, unlearning, deconstructing, dismantling, using our voice, living our truth, it is helping our personal healing journey too, right? That they really go hand in hand. And that's going to feel something like, that's going to ramp up and really feel like a major theme of 2025. And we're going to see it play out in even bigger and badder ways than ever. And then number 10, the last of our lessons from our astrological advisors, our celestial cosmic council, our galactic guides, is to trust. I want you to trust in your intuition, trust your inner knowing, trust the universe to guide you. With Saturn and Pisces, it's like queuing us up to also live in this like North Node and Pisces path where we're all going to be asked to sort of have like a blindfold on and take some big leaps to follow the signs and symbols and synchronicities, to like lean back and kind of trust the flow of the universe, even if we don't understand it. And it's not going to feel linear. It's not going to feel logical at points. But I want you, if you're feeling that nudge, or if you're feeling like hopeless or upset about something, but you keep getting these like signs that things going to happen, this brings me to like just the birthing of my 2 babies over this course of this 13 months has been so Piscean to me. I shared my birth story with Jordy last year, but there was just so many ways that like I had to show up and do the work, be the vessel, be the container, take sacred action. But it was like really so much of being led, just knowing like, okay, like I don't understand how this is happening in the physical plane, but in the spiritual plane, I'm trusting the process. I feel my baby close to me. I feel like what it's like to hold him in my arms, and the whole process so insane. And the things that show up along the way with Jordy, it was a lot of dragon energy, and the dragon energy really guided me through the pregnancy process. And then it turns out his name is connected to dragon energy, and he was dressed up like a little dragon for Halloween this year. And I was just like, holy smokes, like this is so cool. Like life is so magical when we surrender and trust. And then now I have my little baby Santino Aquila Macion. And little Santino means little saint, and Aquila, these are both nods to my father-in-law who passed away in March. And the Santino is a derivative of a nickname he had growing up from his mom, and Aquila was her maiden name. And Aquila means like eagle, but it's also the one who like carried Zeus's thunderbolts, Jupiter's thunderbolts, lightning bolts. There's a constellation named after it. And I just, like the journey, just a surprise pregnancy, giving birth to this little like lightning bolt of energy has been such a gift and a joy. It taught me a lot about surrender in the other way of surrendering. Like, okay, like let's just roll with this. And, now that he's arrived Earthside, you just see like it all makes sense. There's such a beautiful divine blueprint if we can just like trust and allow it. And he's born in the year of the dragon. So I got my 2 dragons. So now I can officially refer to myself as Mother of Dragons. And there's some legitimacy to it. And I love that for me. But like, there's something so beautiful about it. And of course, I was expecting Santi on 12/12. And I was like, what cool numerology. He came on 12/7, which was 9 months to the day after my father-in-law passed. And I just get choked up. It's like I feel his hand in this, all of the, my ancestors, my husband's ancestors, our guides. We are so lovingly protected and directed, but it really requires us to trust the flow and not clench up or constrict in fear. And fear is part of life. I'm not saying don't feel it, but just don't let it stop you. So as we learn in 2024, as we live through another year, Saturn and Pisces, it's really gearing us up. That North Node Pisces, it's almost like Saturn and Pisces has been like the gym. We've been working that Pisces muscle and learning the boundaries around it, the language behind it, the structure behind it. And then in January of this year, we're going to be asked to like embody that and integrate it and bring it out. And I know you are ready. I know you are so ready. And I know the universe has big, beautiful things in store for you. So I'm excited to be here for every step of the way. Until that time, get some rest, eat way too many holiday cookies, watch bad comfort movies, like really, close out the year intentionally, tell people you love them, do something good for yourself, for your community. And I'll be back here in January, right back at it, giving you everything we need to know to align with our highest and hottest self. And in the meantime, I am wrapping this year up with a bow for you. I am sending you and your family the biggest blessings, wrapping you in love and stardust. And of course, sending you those big, beautiful manifestations for big, fat, juicy checks and hot, fulfilling, toe-curling sex in 2025 and beyond. So much love and gratitude. Do you love getting your Cosmic RX for the week here and want more? Make sure to sign up for our premium subscription so you can get exclusive access to bonus podcast episodes, all of my astrology info for the month ahead, and live new and full moon calls to help you manifest your dream life with an intentional international community of other cosmic baddies. Sign up through our link in show notes.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you want to know more about Cosmic RX, head on over to thecosmicrx.com. And if you really love this show, I'd love it if you left a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. I super love hearing from you and reading your reviews. All right, you cosmic baddie, tune in next week. And until then, remember, love yourself fully, work your magic, and take no shit.